Welcome back, it's Nine, and today we are going to be talking about The Last of Us Part 2. And with me, I have a special guest.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Tajae here. And if you don't know who I am, I cover The Last of Us Part 2 quite consistently over on my YouTube channel. So that's all I pretty much do. I'm just that Last of Us guy. You might know who I am, you might not. But
Yeah, definitely if you follow the game, you know who he is. Pretty big up-and-coming guy. Let's get right into this. I think the first thing we should talk about when it comes to The Last of Us Part 2 is just how much hate it got, but also just how much hate it lost after the state of play. I feel like it really changed everything. And obviously with the recent report from Sony talking about it topping Spider-Man sales and pre-orders is really a sign of positive things to come.
yeah, for sure. Plus, Spider-Man, the exact in the first 3 days the game came out, it sold 3.3 million, which set a record for the fastest selling PS4 exclusive. And before that, it was God of War with 3.1 million. So since The Last Part 2 going off its hype, also the publicity of the game, even though it's been like kind of bad PR from all the hate and the leaks and stuff, that still pushes it out to a bigger audience because it's being reported on so much, which makes people interested. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people tune into that state of play. Plus, state of play and for Ghost of Tsushima and The Last Part 2 was like their most viewed state of plays. So I think that could have had something to do with it. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty
absolutely.
sure it's definitely going to sell very highly.
But I think also to remember is we're talking about Spider-Man. It's a Marvel property. It's huge, right? Or it's a Disney property.
That's true.
I don't know. Point being, it's
Spider-Man
huge,
is a Sony property, but
and it's well established, right? Like everybody knows Spider-Man. So for The Last of Us to top that as well, that's pretty incredible.
yeah, Spider-Man's like like as you said, everybody knows Spider-Man. It's like a household name. So
Yeah.
it's like, it's pretty crazy if you really think about it. Plus, but the thing is, don't you ever think about how The Last of Us stayed relevant for 7 years?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Well, I remember, man, when that game dropped, the first one, everybody's like, yo, you gotta play this game. It's one of the greatest games ever made. As soon as I heard that, I was like, yo, I gotta play this game. Like, to me, that was huge for somebody to say that.
Yeah, the game is it's greatness. It's definitely something special. And I don't know, like it's just crazy to think that it stayed around this long. But I think a lot of that has to do with its like popularity. Is that since it's so like rated like to such high acclaim, there's a lot of people who don't really like the game, and the people who don't like the game, I feel like they talk more trash than the people who actually do enjoy the game that praise it. And I feel like the people who just dislike it so much keep the game relevant because they're always bringing it up. You know what I mean? They're always trying to compare it to whatever game's coming out that they're doing. that they're about to play.
Yeah, it
You know, and
really
they
is the vocal minority, I think.
yeah, I feel like the vocal minority is what makes the game so loud and popular online. Even though it is great, it's a great game. I love it. It's one of my favorites ever. But I feel like the negativity around like people just not trying to like it, not in the sense of part 2, but people trying to like say part 1's overrated. It's like they help hype the game up.
Yeah, just brought more attention to it.
Yeah,
Now,
for sure.
with obviously part 2 coming out, what would you say about people who haven't played everything between part 1 and part 2?
What exactly do you mean?
I mean, like, is it necessary?
Okay, I don't think it is not at all necessary to play part 1 to play part 2. But I will say there's a lot of fan service and there is a lot of connections to part 1, but they do have flashbacks that do kind of show part 1 from what we've seen so far in trailers. So you don't have to play it. Neil Druckmann said the story stands on its own. It's its own game. So you really don't have to play it. Like beginning to end, it's its own, journey. But I think it's definitely best to play the first one. They get the full fan service experience.
What about the DLC?
I mean, if you have the game, I don't see why not. But you can play part 2 without the DLC or the first game.
Fair enough. I think that makes it more accessible. But for sure, I feel like with part 1 being on the PS4, I mean, it's really available to anybody who has a console anyway. So, and didn't they give it away for free?
Yeah, they gave it for free.
Yeah, so
They gave away
really no
they
excuse.
gave away all the Uncharted. They gave away the Uncharted collection, Uncharted 4, and The Last of Us for free. Now that I think about it,
Yeah, there's no reason
that's
not
crazy.
to play. So with the story, and this is something that I noticed, and maybe you can elaborate on it. It seems like a much darker, grotesque game compared to the first one, where obviously there was a lot of death in the first one, and there were a lot of dark themes. But I feel like this has even gone further than that, especially in the latest gameplay trailer that we saw. it just seems like it's kind of crossed that line of where there's lightheartedness to just like darkness and death and just it's very very gruesome.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Have you seen the main menu screen to The Last of Us Part 2 by any chance?
I did see you tweet that out, yeah.
Doesn't that is not at all like I pictured it to be darker, but I didn't. That was eerie. Like I was not picturing something like that.
Maybe there's symbolism in that, right? A lonely boat out on a lake, I'm guessing.
I don't know if it felt like a horror film. This game definitely is much darker, even like with the music they've shown so far from the music that they've like shown from the soundtrack, just in like trailers or like during like combat or even the new theme. It's kind of like depressing. Like it's like nothing around this game so far that we've seen is very happy.
Yeah.
It's
And
like they're
that's
really
like
trying to give off that vibe that it's a darker game, and I kind of like that. Like I think I vibe with that. They've always said that the game is going to be much darker than the first, and you know that this game's about hate. The first game's about love, so they're definitely not pulling back any punches. I feel like, you know what I mean?
and I like to see more mature themes going forward because I feel like we get a lot of games where there's always like a happy ending, right? Like whereas this game is kind
Yeah,
of like, no, this is
you
the
don't know
real
what.
world. Like anything can
Yeah,
happen. So
yeah. I think I like that more realistic, grounded feel. That's why I like The Last of Us so much because even the first game had like that sense of like the stakes, but it's like in this game they it's like they raise the stakes even higher. You know what I mean? Like you really feel like this world is pulling on you. You know what I mean?
and I really like that. To be honest, I'm with you with that. Like when I played the first one, and this is a spoiler alert for the first one, when his daughter dies, that I honestly did not expect that. I thought somehow, some way she was gonna live. And so when she died, it like shook me. I was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" You know, this seemed unheard
Yeah.
of in video
I
games up
think
until then.
I was so young though. I was like 13 at the time, and I did watch like walkthroughs and stuff because I just didn't get games right away at that age. I really didn't really feel the impact of that scene. Like I guess now I obviously see why it's sad, but I never got the true impact,
Oh, it hit me
like
hard, bro.
the effect on me.
Like, bro, like crying and everything, man. It hit me hard. Like,
Right.
I was like, "What the fuck, dude?" Like,
Yeah,
it
that's
really
sad,
threw me
bro.
off.
I know it hurts a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think you know what actually even adds on to the storytelling of The Last of Us. Just the entire game is the voice acting is so good, man. I don't think I've ever.
Oh, in part two, I feel like in part two they really stepped up their game. I feel like Ashley Johnson is way better from what we've seen so far in part two than part one. Did you at the end of the state of play
Yeah,
gameplay? Like whenever she runs into Nora
yeah.
and she's like, put that shit down. Like, I don't know, it is hella believable. Like I was stunned while watching that.
I gotta say that probably from every video game that I've ever played, The Last of Us, just in general, has the greatest voice acting, like ever.
You think so?
Yeah, man, like it's so good. Like that's a perfect example at the end. The way she talked to her, it was believable. It wasn't like
Yeah,
someone was
that is true.
acting, dude.
But also, I feel like what makes it even like it's the VO, but I also think it's just the talent behind the animation team.
Oh, that definitely adds to it, of
For sure.
course.
Yeah, because when you're looking at it, it's like it just looks. It doesn't only sound, but it looks believable. Like the expressions in the face, how much is going on. It's pretty intricate. It's crazy.
Dude, there's a reason why Naughty Dog is like top tier talent. Like, really though, there's very
Yeah,
few
they
studios
work
that are
hard,
at
bro.
that level. No
They work
doubt.
hard.
For sure,
All that
man.
crunch goes. Hey, I hate to say it, but all that crunch makes a great product, right?
Yeah, and that's what you'll notice across the board is every game that has crunch to that degree is an incredible piece of work. So something that I noticed that really threw me like off in a good way, especially being somebody that played the original, and for me personally, I felt like there was something missing from the gameplay of The Last of Us to get me hooked. And I've noticed that they've completed that with The Last of Us Part 2. I feel like they have expanded upon the gameplay mechanics that they had already created and the foundation to Part 1 and added onto it in so many ways in Part 2. And to me, that is one of the most exciting things about the next game.
The thing about part two, it's like I feel like it feels like a new game, like completely. Like if you really think back to part one, how many times I played it now? It's a very like two-dimensional game. There's not very much to it. Like it's like I don't want to say it's just a cover shooter, but in a way, like there is other mechanics and aspects to the game, but it just feels very bare bones compared to today. I feel like it didn't age the greatest. You know what I mean? And seeing what they're doing in part two with like the exploration and the different side script narrative stories that you can miss up, that you could pass up, or like the rope mechanic, it's more vertical of a game. There's a jump button, you can go prone. You know what I mean? I feel like it adds dimensions to the gameplay.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. And I feel like it's a true evolution of The Last of Us Part 1.
For sure.
In the
Even
best
the
way.
horseback riding, the boat, like there's more ways to Ellie could swim now. I mean, we had swimming in part 1, but I feel like swimming will be like much more utilized in part 2.
Absolutely. And it also because it almost it has a meaning behind it. Like when I saw her jump in the water, like it connected with the thought of she didn't know how to swim before in part 1. Like
Right.
So I think
And
adding that
from a game designer's standpoint, it's like it's only right that she knows how to swim, like, or you'll be stripping yourself from like aspects of your own game. But it's like it was still surprising to see, you know, it was still like a whoa, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes
Yeah.
sense. And yeah, from a game development standpoint, yeah, not having a character be able to swim takes away quite a bit
Yeah,
of ability
yeah.
to traverse the environment, right? So
Right. And it makes you have to change up your whole level design, really.
yeah, it does. I didn't even think of that. That's very true. It changes
Yeah.
everything. And speaking of that, like environments and stuff, it almost seems like the world is, I don't want to say open world because I think that term is overused.
It's like semi linear open.
Yeah, like obviously there's a point A to point B, but I feel like there's a lot you can do around that. Like you don't have to take one route to get to point A to point B. I feel like there's many different things you can do in between.
I agree. You can even see that inside the state of play gameplay.
Yeah.
If you really look at the path they take, you could tell that there's other paths that you could take to get to the same exact point.
Is that the first time they've done that with a Naughty Dog game?
I think not necessarily, because Uncharted 4 did it a little bit, and then The Lost Legacy did have like open explorative areas. So it's like, you know, they took a little bit from 4, some from Lost Legacy, and like expanded upon it to be bigger.
Yeah, they're really evolving their games like from game to game. You can tell. Like you're absolutely right, man. And I like for me, it doesn't even matter, even if it wasn't. Like let's just say it was a pure linear experience. They have a way of telling their stories and even making the gameplay fun while still having a linear experience. So I'm not even worried about it being open world or not, because that's kind of, in a lot of ways, it can be a gimmick.
I don't want it to be open world though. That's the thing. Like it still has to keep its focus, and that's what Noah Druckmann said himself. Like he was like, he doesn't want it to be so open to the point where it's like, let's say, for instance, this is just my example. There's like a boss fight or some major story beat coming up, and instead of you worrying about whatever's going on in the story, like you're busy off like wandering around looking for collectibles or something, or just exploring. It kind of takes off that tension from the situation that you're currently in. So like whenever you get to more heavier story beats of the game, the path narrows in to keep you on track. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they definitely know the balance that they're still having a linear single player game, and the game is mostly about its story. So it's like I don't think they're using it as a gimmick, but you know, I feel like they're focused on how they built it.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying, because it has a strong narrative, and that's kind of their thing, right? Is telling these incredible stories. So as you said, it would take you out of the experience. It kind of ruins the immersion if you're thinking of like, oh, well, I need to do this side quest for such and such person, or side mission, whatever, or collectibles, right? Whereas if you're like focusing on the main story and the narrative, it's like keeps you in the experience.
For sure.
I completely get what you're saying. Before I saw the state of play, my excitement for The Last of Us Part 2, obviously for you, it's different. Like for you, it's like a 12 out of 10, right?
Yeah. Always.
For me,
it's something I've been looking forward to for a long time.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you
absolutely.
haven't, but it's been like in the back of your head. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's very different. I understand that. For me, as a casual fan, right, of The Last of Us,
Right.
for me, my hype was at like a 7, and then I'm sure when it would drop, I'd be super excited. But after seeing the state of play and just really seeing the evolution of the gameplay, for me, it's like a 10 out of 10 now. Like, I can't wait to play this game. This is a day
What
one
was your-
purchase. This is something that I want to stream. This is something that I really want to enjoy to its fullest.
Right. What was? Or whenever you watch the state of play, what's something that had you the most stoked? Like what about it gave you the most? Like, okay, yeah, I'm in. Like
So-
what was it?
So obviously the evolution of the gameplay, I've talked a lot about that. The other thing is just seeing the growth that Ellie has had since the first game. Like seeing how she has changed. She's made a complete 180, and it just makes me want to know, okay, I want to see how the story ends. I want to see her growth within The Last of Us Part 2. And especially when I saw the end of that, the way she approached, I don't know what that woman's name was, but the way she approached her was pretty aggressive, man. Like,
Yeah, I agree. For me, what I took out of State of Play, okay, so I don't know. Of course, you played the first game.
yes.
I think we can all agree that the first game, I know this isn't just some zombie game, but I feel like it was lacking in the infected encounters. Like I feel like there's just a lot of just hit enemy on enemy like human based encounters, and that's where most of the struggle of this world is. And I feel like they need to really bunker down and truly show you how much the infected really does, take a toll on our world that we play in. So I feel like part 2 should have a lot more infected encounters. And so far from what they've shown us, I think it will be heavier because they did say like runners will be in bigger groups as well as more aggressive. And then they have like brand new infecteds past the bloater that we did see, a shambler, and there's much others that we're going to discover. And I just really hope they have like some sandbox areas that are just filled with infected. You know what I mean? Like we need infected sandbox areas, just like how we have those sandbox areas of like enemies, like human enemies, and we just travel whatever and look around. I want it to be like not really hordes, but like something in that esque of material. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just to make them a little more intimidating, right? And
Yeah, I feel like they need to turn it up a notch with the infected. Also, secondly, the melee combat was also like definitely pulled me in heavily. Like I loved what they did with it. It made it much more three-dimensional. Like the dodging mechanic. Of course, you have the dismantle where you get to take their weapons. You have the basic attack. Like it looks very nice. And then also the AI is very smart as well. They actually really help you out whenever you're fighting. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
all I really enjoyed seeing those three things.
Now, as you talk about it, like obviously they do, like I do see it as I was watching it. Obviously, I only watched it a few times, so I don't know it inside out like you do. But you mentioning it does remind me, hey, yeah, these are actually great points as well. And I did watch that video you made regarding the AI being very intelligent, comparatively speaking to the first one.
Yeah, the first game's AI is honestly buns nowadays. It didn't age very well, but this second game, it's gonna be crazy. Like honestly, from what we've seen thus far, and really, not the game hasn't down. Like I just made a video today about the game being downgraded or not, and it hasn't really downgraded at all. And if anything, it's actually upgraded from September compared to now. And I actually have a comparison if you want to go check that out. Not the self plug, but
Yeah, I didn't think it was downgraded at all, man. Like looking at it, that thought didn't even cross my mind.
it even upgraded. Like even like the 2017 teaser trailer with Mystery Woman, they put clips of that inside the state of play, put them side by side, bro. Mystery Woman, they actually changed her character model. She's much more buffer now, and they also definitely changed like the foliage on the cutscene. It's built different. You can definitely see it. It looks way better. The lighting, the fire effects, like everything about it, and then also different graphics fidelity. Like as you're playing the game, for instance, there's this one part where they showcase like supplements, and there's like a clicker skeleton, and it was just sitting there. Well, and now where it has a clicker skeleton, they have like fungal growth like all over this. It's crazy how much stuff they improved with it. It's honestly mind blowing. You gotta go check it out.
I mean, naturally, right? Like you'd expect improvement over the months.
Like
right?
when they said they're delaying the game because it's not up to the Naughty Dog quality, that they need more polishing, they definitely put a lot of extra polish on the game. It's crazy.
So that wraps up this video, guys. The Last of Us Part 2 drops June 19th on a Friday. Be excited. I can't wait to play this game. I know that Tajae over here cannot wait to play this game. Thank you for joining me on this video. I really appreciate you coming through. And guys, definitely go check them out if you haven't already. As always, thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to get notified about all my upcoming videos. You can follow me and Tajae on Twitter. Links will be in the description. Share this video with a friend, and I will talk to you guys on the next one. Take care.